Hey everyone, Darren Walsh here, and I just want to introduce you to the new episode of The Journey with Matt Andrews. And he has a business that works with bright light facilitators. Mentara is his business, and he helps people find their tribe. And one thing we'll get into is about finding our tribe, right? And how we can learn from what he's done. And also find our place, where we belong. And follow that path, which a lot of us miss. We start a business with a passion, and a lot of the times we lose that passion along the way, and we get right into that conversation in the journey ahead. So I hope you really enjoy it. Matt, I've got to know Matt for a little while now, and one thing that really strikes me is his ability to connect with his tribe, and his journey to find his place in the world has been very interesting. So we'll get into all that, and without any further ado, let's get into Matt Andrews and the episode of The Journey. Cheers.
So let's get into it. So today, everyone, we have Matt Andrews in The Journey. Welcome, Matt.
Hello. Thank you very much.
Matt is the man of light, aren't you? And you help. That's your bright light, and you help healers. And tell us all a bit about what you do, Matt.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't describe myself as a man of light, but I tend to think that I align with the light, and the light is kind of a subjective term, isn't it? Light and dark. It's kind of, good and bad, dark and evil sort of idea. But I like to work to help people who are aligned with their heart and aligned with the light, which we could call good and high intentions, to really be their best person out into the world. So
nice. We can all do with a bit of that, can't we? And tell me, Matt. So we've known each other for a little while now, and which is great. I've really enjoyed getting to know you a fair bit. And tell me a little bit about your journey. So before we get into that, who was or what was the most influence on your journey to get you where you are today? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those questions, isn't it? I'm not sure. Like, I could start and say, well, my mum, because my mum really set me up with a lot of things, as did my dad, but I was kind of a bit more probably aligned with mum. And yet dad kind of, with his history, helped shape me a lot too, and potentially not in pleasant ways, but not there's anything wrong there. But
yeah.
But when it comes to who helped me the most get to where I am today,
this is what not to do.
Yeah, kind of, because dad, had a lot of his own hang-ups from his own childhood and stuff growing up with his dad at war and all of what went on. He definitely carried the not good enough template and not acceptable and all the rest of it. And then, tried to make me something to appease that.
Yeah.
So I won't get too bogged down in that. But probably to answer your question about who helped me the most on my journey get to where I am today, was probably someone who I only met 3 or 4 times. And so this was a guy called Clint Blue Sky, who channels an energy, right? So this was one of my first introductions to woo-woo type facilitators. This was back when I was just getting out of my yoga path, which I'll probably talk a little bit about before, and I was quite lost in the world. And I'll put a bit of background history into it. My whole body was falling apart at this stage. My marriage wasn't doing too well. I was hating the work that I was doing, which was very glamorous in the film industry, on The Hobbit, main unit shooting right there next to shoulder with all the stars. And I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about that later.
Yeah, but at this stage, I was in a lot of pain, both physically and emotionally and mentally to a point. And I really didn't know what I needed to do to sort myself out, but I knew something had to change. I was going to a chiropractor at the time who uses muscle testing and all this thing, trying to sort out why my right hip had locked up so badly and I could hardly friggin' walk. And he got to a point where he said, Matt, we've done a lot of good stuff here, really helped you, but I can't take you any further. You need to find your happiness. right? Which I really respected him at that stage for doing that, to saying, you know, it's pointless me taking any more money off you and trying to manipulate this and that. You need to be happy because your body's basically, you know, just a reflection of the fact that you're not happy with your life.
Yeah.
I went, oh, fuck. Okay. Sorry, am I supposed to say that on this? But
I can bleep it.
Yeah, you can bleep it out. But so he suggested I go and see a counsellor. I didn't really like that idea because I had some bad connotations about that. So my wife put me on to go to see a clairvoyant. And so it was the first time I'd ever seen a clairvoyant. So I went and saw a clairvoyant, and she helped me out a bit, and she put me on to who she goes to see, which is this guy called Clint Blue Sky, who is a full trance channel and basically leaves his body and allows another energy to come into him, and he basically allows this energy to speak through him. So it's the full thing. His face changes, his posture changes, and this other energy comes in who's called Jimmy. And Jimmy was this beautiful Irish angel who like spoke with a full Irish accent, which Clint doesn't, right? Clint's down to earth, funny little guy out the back of Tawa in Wellington, New Zealand, and he allows this energy to come into him. And Jimmy was basically my first mentor post, you know, having a guru, who basically set me straight on the idea that I'm here to be a facilitator, I'm here to be a healer, and I'm here to teach, right, in various ways. So I only went and saw him about 3 or 4 times over a period of a year.
This is in person, you did this?
Yeah, in person. Yeah. He has no online presence at all. Yeah. You can't search this guy out. He just works out of his back room in his house, and he's got a steady stream of clientele who come to see him because they know from word of mouth, from whatever. And he's absolutely amazing. So he was kind of my first energetic and mentor type who really set me straight on, you know, what I'm here to do. So
it's amazing those just all you need is a couple of contacts with someone who's quite influential, and it can make a big difference, can't it?
Definitely. And just a little bit of reinforcement and what's the other word that I'm looking for? Acknowledgement of who you are, and encouragement to step forward into that from someone who you trust. And like, this guy's obviously wasn't of this world. So it's kind of easy to trust such a being, or you could just toss it out and go, it's a load of shit. But either way, I chose to trust at that time. And with that trust came my choice to take action, right? Which is what it all came down to, right? I said, right,
so you were obviously thinking about, taking this journey into this being a facilitator.
I'd always wanted to help more, because at that stage, I'd already been a yoga and meditation teacher for about 15 or 16 years at that stage. Now, this is like 2012, early 2012, when this sort of unfolded. And I knew I wanted to help more, but I sort of was running a program that I couldn't make a living doing that. I know lots of people who are yoga teachers, and it's freaking tough, including my wife. Not easy to make a decent living at doing that.
Yeah.
And we, got a family and a house and a mortgage and all that stuff.
Like the rest of us,
Like the rest of us. And the film industry was super tough in terms of, boom and bust. So you're on these big films earning reasonably good money. Like, it's only $4 an hour, but you do bloody 90 hours a week. So with the overtime rates, you earn good money while you're on, but then it stops. And that's it. You're scratching.
So hold on, let me get this. How did the journey start? So take us back to the beginning. So, wherever you see the beginning as, how did this transformation, if you like, for want of a better word, happen for you to become what you are today? So you haven't always been doing this. You've mentioned yoga, you've mentioned the movies. Where'd you start?
Well, I start in childhood, and I'm from Sydney, Northern Beaches, grew up, mid-northern beaches of Sydney, God's country in the 70s and 80s. It was beautiful and a great place to be. But the interesting thing is that I was never happy, right? Never really happy. I never really felt that I fit in. All through childhood, I was searching to fit in and be appreciated and feel that I was, quote unquote, good enough to run.
And what was that from, Matt? Was that, because you didn't do sports, or you did do sports, or you did arts, or you didn't do arts, or what was it?
Yeah, so it doesn't matter what I did. And I did do sports. I wasn't very good at art. That's true. I remember one little story. This is a story that has shaped me in some way. But in 3rd class, I got a note sent home from Mrs. Wardle, my teacher, to say that Matthew is not practicing the recorder. And my mother had to write her back a note saying Matthew is practicing the recorder, and it's probably too much. Those horrible little squeaky things.
So you must have been a lot better than me though, because for my music lessons, I was asked to sit outside.
Yeah, right. So we have a shared reality here. So yeah, exactly.
I wasn't allowed to participate.
No,
it was that bad.
Yeah, I know. I was the same, and it really it's a bit of a knock on the head, when you sort of get those. You know,
well, I'm sure that wouldn't happen today.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't happen today. Yeah. You know, yeah, I remember getting the ruler for not being good at recorder.
Yeah.
Whenever that was, 1978 or something, 78, 79, whatever that was. But, you know, my feeling of not good enough, I think, has come from past life, because there's no good reason for having it. No good reason for having it, or ancestral, because, you know, my dad and I recognise my dad's dad also carried these energies, and it used to show up that, you know, nothing he could do, he ever felt good enough, even though I look at my dad and some of the things he achieved, you know, and pushed himself through and did. He was definitely a very, very talented man in a lot of ways, as am I, right? I've done a lot of amazing things. My not good enough drove me to be academically very successful, you know, like I was second ducks at my high school graduation, second highest, you know, university entry score, only second to a bloody genius who had been put up a year into our year.
Really?
So I sort of got robbed.
Yeah.
not that I really cared. I wasn't doing it to be the best. I was just doing it good, you know. And again, I graduated from Sydney University with an honours degree in mechanical engineering, and then lasted 3 months as an engineer.
as a mechanic, so you're a mechanical engineer?
Yeah, by profession. Yeah. I majored in structural design and machine design and analysis. Yeah, machine design and structural analysis. Yeah. So I love numbers. I'm dyslexic, so I you know, avoid writing essays and all the rest of it, which is interesting now, because as you know, one of my gifts, if you like, is writing content. But I avoided, like, I almost failed English at school, and all through university avoided anything to do with having to write, and stuck to the numbers. Yeah. But anyway, getting back to the journey.
Don't blame me. I didn't like writing either.
Yeah, right.
And now we both do it all the time.
And now we've basically learnt to do it, and in some ways I enjoy it. I still find the mechanics of writing painful, but I enjoy expressing myself now, that's for sure, and enjoy putting out concepts that I feel are going to be beneficial to people. So anyway, cut through a chase of not feeling good enough, driving myself to be better and better, going to university, getting an honours degree, coming out with that degree and a bit of a binge drinking issue. I sort of quit my first job after 3 months as an engineer, because I was just hating it, having to drive out into the western suburbs and work on the, you know, anyway, just wasn't for me. Went back into helping Dad in the film industry, because Dad had got into the film industry as a grip. So we set up the cameras and moved them around on those train tracks and cranes.
Oh, right, okay.
And it was part of what drove me to really enjoy mechanical engineering, because all through growing up, Dad had always been making little rigs and stuff. So when the camera's out on the side of a car or on a helicopter, you know, it was our job, or Dad's job at that time, to mount it, right? So he was a natural engineer. He was a motor mechanic by trade. And so I loved engineering. I loved solving problems and loved doing all of that stuff. So I studied engineering, but then didn't really cope with the structure of having to actually be an engineer and
the reality of what it actually is.
The reality of all of that BS. So I went back to helping Dad and still looking for my dream job, you know, as an engineer designing stuff. And 6 months later, Dad broke both his legs in a big car accident out in Broken Hill.
Ouch.
Like really badly, like very nearly bled to death in a Ford Econovan when he ran up the arse of a cow, probably doing about 130, you know, no bull bar in a Ford Econovan. You imagine what it looked like. Anywho.
Hey, Darren Walsh here, and I just want to interrupt the journey here with Matt Andrews. Hope you're really enjoying it. He's got a really in-depth knowledge. But if this resonates with you, if there's something about finding your tribe and and really finding your place in your business, then I encourage you to leave a comment below or come and join our group. It's Seeking Business Autonomy. I'll leave a link below this video. Come and join us, and let's find your tribe. Let's build your business, and let's see how you can benefit from that free group. Jump in, have a look around. Cheers.
So I took over his business, which was a big truck and a full concern at that stage. At the age of 23, I was sort of thrust into running a business, not owning the business, but running a business, which was a huge, steep learning curve for me in responsibility and all of that.
For a lot of people, really, isn't it? You know, once you start a business, it's so different when you're on the inside.
Yeah. And of course, being young and keen and wanting to impress, I built the business up and spent some more money and got some more leases on bigger and better flasher equipment. So pretty soon, I remember sitting there at the age of 28, and I had found yoga at this stage, which is the next point on the trip. But realizing that I'd had $10,000 a month worth of commitments in a film industry truck and business. And it was just one big friggin' anchor chained around my neck because I was the only one. I was the only one who could work it. We didn't really have employees or anything, and so
you just had to keep working. Otherwise,
I had to keep working. $10,000 a month for it to sit still. So that was before I paid myself $10,000 a month or had any money left over for the parents who owned the business. So So I got out of that eventually. But anyway, along the journey, at about the age of 25, my back was hurting and I was heartbroken, to be honest. I break up with a certain girl, not feeling good enough about myself. And I just stumbled into a yoga class. I actually walked into the sandwich board on the side of the road, which had been there for years. And I'd known there was a yoga school there. Yeah, this is in my sort of hometown of DY on the northern beaches of Sydney. Basically stumbled into the board and went, oh, yoga. My back's really hurting. Maybe I should go. And so I showed up to my first yoga class and I absolutely loved it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I especially loved the meditation that they did at the end of the class. And I went, this really ticks a lot of boxes for me. And so very soon I was completely into it and loving it. And 6 months later, I had a guru, right? I'd got the whole hog.
So looking back at that, I mean, this might sound a bit weird, but is that like A-frame board? Is that one of the influences in your life, like running into that thing?
Definitely. Oh, huge.
Because if you hadn't run into that A-frame board, you wouldn't have gone to that class.
No, and goodness knows where I'd be now. No idea. Because, starting yoga, I became as well as getting a guru, I became a vegetarian. I stopped drinking. I met my wife, who was my third ever yoga teacher, like weeks into it. Not that we got together at that stage, but that's when we first met. So it was massively influential in how I turned out.
Well, it's like it was meant to be, isn't it? You were meant to run into that A-frame board.
And that was the feeling that I had at the time, even at 25 and feeling pretty disillusioned with how my life was going at the time. I sort of just looked down at the sign and went, I'm supposed to go. This is, and I wasn't a big believer in coincidence. And I was actually very, very intellectual mindset and quite a skeptic in all sorts of things to do with energy and that sort of stuff. I grew up going to the Catholic Church to about the age of 13 or 14 when I basically went, no, this is bullshit. This doesn't make sense. And I very much became, atheist and believed in science and everything was a chemical reaction. But you can't really justify it. I was smart enough to realize that if everything was just a chemical reaction and it is just survival of the fittest, then what's driving these moral feelings I have inside me? Why don't I just knock someone over the head and take what they've got? It's not really fear of the law. I know there's something inside me that feels good when I do good and help people and feels bad, So there was a lot of contradictions going on in how I was trying to put the world together and make sense of it. And yoga really helped. The yoga philosophies, the philosophies of karma and reincarnation and all this stuff really made a lot of sense to me at that stage. Really
so prior to you joining the yoga class, you really were the scientific atheist, yeah? and then you hit the A-frame board, and then things just unravel
very
there to
quickly
become
over the next few months, as I just started
months. We're just talking months.
Yeah, ravenously reading all the yoga scriptures stuff, even before I met Swamiji and got into the full-on side of it. I was
Swamiji. So this is your yoga teacher, is it?
No, this is my guru.
Guru. So explain that to us non-yoga types. What is that?
So he's a spiritual teacher. So he's
Yeah.
a spiritual teacher. He wasn't actually teaching the yoga classes, but all of the yoga teachers in that school were disciples of his. So,
and by that you mean they followed his sort of yoga principles or teachings?
Exactly. Yeah. Spiritual teachings.
Right.
One of which was.
So yoga is more spiritual than just sort of
Definitely.
stretching and stuff. Yeah.
The stretching part of traditional yoga is a very small part.
Right.
A lot of yogis in India don't do the stretching. They just can't be bothered. They don't need it. The stretching bit was basically designed to help you be able to sit comfortably and meditate for long periods of time. It was to look after your body so that you could sit comfortably in a yoga posture and do the practice of meditation. Yeah.
Yes, because I can't quite cross my legs, so that's
no
a problem.
Yeah, but you can meditate lying down, you can meditate sitting in. So you don't need to, a lot of you got to remember yoga, a lot of the scriptures are written between 5,000 years and 500 years ago. So, a lot of that time has changed. A lot of things have changed in the world, and energetically we're living in a completely different space now. So a lot of the very disciplined practices are not so necessary today, and in some ways are too rigid to really work today, because they don't really appeal to our mindset or our outlook on life.
Yeah. So you started following, what was his name again?
Oh, Swamiji, which just means respected Swami. Swami's just a monk of the Swami order, right? He has a full name. It's Maheshwarananda. Or it's even longer than that if you want to add it all together. But yeah. So you started following his teachings, and you became one of his disciples, if you like. Is that right? Exactly. Yeah. For 16 years, quite devoted.
Oh, really? And so that's, were you becoming a facilitator at that stage, or you hadn't met? Kind
of becoming a facilitator, but the facilitator was very much limited to Swamiji's teachings and teaching yoga and teaching meditation according to how he taught meditation, which was very, very structured. I loved it. I loved the feeling that I got in meditation. I loved leading other people into meditation. But when it all fell apart in 2011, when we found out what Swamiji was really like, as it always happens, right? And I went through all the pain, and it all went to custard. And Jimmy at that stage, right, who I started talking about earlier through Clint, helped me understand who I really was. And the phrase he used was, "It's time for you to come out from under the guru's skirt," right? Because gurus wear basically a dress, right? So it was time for me to come out from under his skirt and stand as a teacher myself, and not need to just keep teaching on behalf of him. And that massively liberated me to be able to shine a lot more light into what I did, and to bring a lot more of my own wisdom into the equation.
And so that's that you use that phrase a bit. You're coming out.
Yes.
And now you sort of decide, okay, I'm going to be a facilitator. So now you've had this epiphany, if you like, to become a facilitator. What are you doing now? Like, what happens when you walk out of that room?
You have to start making little changes, because at the time I was in no shape really just to be a facilitator. So at that stage I was still under contract to finish The Hobbit, so I did.
So you're still doing the group. So you're in New Zealand now. You're still,
So I moved to New Zealand. That's another whole story. Obviously, Marie and I married, and we had kids. And after we had kids, then she decided that she wanted to go home, because she was a Kiwi, even though prior to us having kids, I think she'd mentioned New Zealand 3 times in the 3 years before that. She was very, very happy in Sydney, and all of a sudden it was, we need to go home.
And you're still in New Zealand now, obviously. So
15 years later, we're still here. I almost sound like one now, kind of a little bit. But anyway, So what happened after basically the enlightenment of, well, I know what I'm here to do now. Immediately my body started feeling a lot stronger, which was good news, a lot less pain. But while I was finishing The Hobbit, I just started researching and looking for what I was going to do, because I still didn't know. I knew I was more than just teaching meditation and yoga, but I didn't know what. And so I started doing research. I started looking online and doing all sorts of mad Google searches that led me here, there, and everywhere. And that's how I first heard light language, and it's how I first, because the guru path was very, very blinkered. It was very, very blinkered. It was this, and anything else was just Maya, illusion, distraction. So crystals were a distraction. Any sort of healing work was really a distraction. You're here just to do, the path as it was laid out. So once the blinkers came off, I was like a kid in a candy store, and I was reading about all sorts of stuff, and really got very passionate again about all of that. And funnily enough, I never studied anything. I never did any courses, even though I looked at heaps of them. Jimmy basically told me at another one of his visits, when I kept asking him, well, what should I do? What should I study? And I used to come and say, is it quantum touch? Is it theta healing? What should I do? And he said, no. Just go out and hold people in love. That's all you need to do. That sounds fucking scary. You mean I don't get to hide behind a certificate on the wall, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't. And he goes, no, you don't need to. You've done it all before. You inherently, you know what to do. You just need to get the confidence to start doing it. And so
that
I did.
Statement there, that's a really powerful statement, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what to do. Inherently have all the skills.
Yeah.
You just got to go do it. And a lot of people in business, that they have that, don't they? Like they've got these skills. They've got these
innate instincts.
They know it. There's probably some gaps, and you would have had some gaps, in what they have to do. But
you to fill those in, you just instinctively get led to what you need. But the thing first is honoring those instincts, or that intuition, or that knowing. Because if you think it's all going to come from someone else, then you're always going to be lost. Because the problem is there's always conflicts. Because once you start, studying someone, then you obviously study someone else, and you start comparing, and there's always conflicts. And then you start mentalizing, well, who's right? And there's no answer. And then we get overwhelmed and stressed, because we're trying to figure out stuff with a mind that really is just working with the data that we've given it. And the data set's incomplete all the time. It's, people ask me, well, what's the right thing to do? And I say, well, whose perspective? Who are you talking about? In your mum's perspective, or your wife's perspective, or your perspective, or society's perspective? What do you mean, what's the right thing to do?
Yeah.
Because everyone has a different idea.
That's right. And
your mum wants you to do something different to your wife, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting, from a lot of people have a passion, don't they? In business, whatever business they have, they started a business because they've got a passion in it, right? In some aspect of what they do. And a lot of people lose their way. A lot of people end up doing things that are just not aligned with what makes them happy and what really drives them. And I suppose, in your words, gives them energy.
Yeah. They try to play it safe, right? Because it seems like a risk to follow your passions.
Yeah, and I think what you said before is a lot of people listen to what is expected of them.
Yeah.
And I see this a lot. Like I've never fitted into the corporate world myself, and I see a lot of people in business trying to match themselves to that corporate image, which doesn't suit them at all.
No.
And then all of a sudden they, lost their way.
Yeah, because they're not fitting into the corporate image, and they're not being themselves. So they're no one now, right? And no one believes anything that they say, because they're obviously living a lie.
Yeah. So sorry, I interrupted you there, but you were talking about how you were just starting to get into your energy and being a facilitator and things like that.
Yeah. So basically, a little while ago, you asked, what do you do after you know you're supposed to be a facilitator and or anything, right?
Yeah.
It's just to follow the breadcrumbs. I've been saying this a couple of times on calls I've done lately, that patience is much more than a virtue. I don't rate virtues very high anyway, because they're only just rules. But
Yeah.
patience is everything in business and in life.
Yeah.
Most people fail, and we can talk a lot about the word fail, but a lot of people don't get very far and don't have very successful outcomes because they don't give things enough time. They want to chop and change. They're very quick to judge that it's not working because it doesn't feel good. They're not getting instant gratification, and they want to change things up. And so they hop from one thing to another. Someone else is teaching, that didn't work, so we're on to something else, right? And they just waste a lot of time, a lot of energy, and a lot of, and it wears them down because they start adding up all of these quote unquote perceived failure experiences and thinking, well, I'm obviously not cut out for this. And that's a big shame. No matter what you're doing, whether you want to be a facilitator and share your light, or whether you're a business person and want to share your knowledge or your services, whatever those services are, it's a shame, right? Because we're all here to add to society in some way. And a lot of people don't do it very effectively because they're not willing to just have the grit and the commitment to go through what you need to go through to get to the outcome that you really desire.
And I do refer to that a lot, about that resilience that you need to run a business or follow your passion, whatever that be. It isn't always going to go smoothly.
No.
Things are going to...
Just look at our marriages, right? I think everyone can relate. Anyone who's still married can relate that you need resilience because it ain't no fairy tale.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's hard. Like yesterday can be completely different to today, and that's in any aspect of it. Any aspect of our lives, isn't it? Like one thing in business is there's plenty of disruption. Especially now. Yeah, and you have to be resilient to get through that. But it's a good point you made before, is to stick with things and to push through, but also be aware of how that's affecting your life, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. It's definitely needs, there's definitely a balance element there, because if you just get dogmatic and fixed and rigid and try and push through something that obviously is not working, then you're going to drive yourself down the hole and probably take your health and your relationships with it. So it's important to have awareness of what's driving you and why, to really, because a lot of people allow themselves to be mentally driven by an idea of what's right or wrong, or they allow themselves to be emotionally driven by what feels good or what doesn't. But very few people are willing to dig beneath the mental and the emotional and really feel intuitively what feels most aligned with me. Because unfortunately, when we get on the path of what feels aligned with me, quite often we have resistance from our mental beliefs, and we have resistance from our emotional fragments of trauma, or whatever you want to call it, our past pains, come up and sort of protest what feels deeply aligned with us. So we've got this push-pull going on within us, and that's what requires the resilience to get through it.
And is that what we refer to a lot as that imposter syndrome? That's
one of them. Self-sabotage. People talk about self-sabotage, right? And that's what we're basically talking about: belief systems and fragments of emotional pain that arise to sabotage what you really know deep inside of you is your best course of action. And imposter syndrome is a big one. Not feeling good enough, even though on a level you're good enough and you have something to offer, but there's bits of programming in there that railroad that. Requires.
And your clients, so you help people find that pathway, right? You help people find their tribe and grow basically their heart-centered businesses that you focus on. That's your niche, yeah. And that's an important thing, is you've recognized who you serve and who you help.
Yeah, and I can serve more people than that too. I serve anyone who's aligned with being passionate in themselves. But I particularly enjoy serving people who want to help other people.
But it's about that I always talk to people about niches, but people do get sort of bogged down in a niche as to the job or the business that they have, rather than, I think, where you are is that mindset and that heart energy that they have. That's really who you're serving, isn't it? Regardless of how they're presenting.
Yeah. Some of them are beauty therapists. Some of them are book editors. Some of them are woo-woo healers, who do crazy stuff like I do. It doesn't really matter, like judgeable, crazy energy work. It doesn't really matter how they're doing the service. What's important for me, what I find exciting, is people who are really passionate about doing it and doing it from a reason that's well above just earning money or just being good, right, and proper in the eyes of their parents or their society or whatever. They're really doing it because they feel a heart calling to do this work in the way that they're doing it.
Yeah. And that, we talk a lot about, in business, well, we should be talking a lot about business, about the avatar that we serve and the type of customer. And I think that's a really good description of who you serve, right? It's not really about the business that they do as such.
No, it's more about their psychographics and their demographics for me. It's much more about who they are as a person. And ultimately, I like to work with people who like me, not from an egoic point of view, but for people who basically. I
love that word, by the way, egoic. You got to say that.
Oh, sorry, I haven't said it enough, have I?
Egoic, by the way, just explain what egoic is. I had to look this up several times.
Well, it's pretty simple. It's just pertaining to the ego. And then people have different connotations about what ego is. So a lot of people think ego is a bad thing that means you're up yourself, but it's not really. In my definition of ego is the aspect of ourselves that sees ourselves as separate. It's the aspect of ourselves that's very concerned about our survival and even our thrival, right? How much we thrive, so it can get out of hand easily in multiple directions, either trying to bolster itself up. But I can see people have a very strong ego who play poor me, right? It's the same. It's the ego principle that's wanting to differentiate themselves. So when I talk about egoic, I'm basically talking about that aspect of our self that's looking at ourselves as a separate being, which of course we kind of are, but differentiating ourselves and getting caught in our personas and our stories and our past a lot of the time. So the egoic is very concerned with how we're perceived by others. It's worried about judgment. It's worried about maintaining personas. It's worried about staying safe, whatever safe means to the ego, which generally is being liked and appreciated and supported by others and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's a very good explanation. You need to put that into Google so it comes up.
Yeah, okay.
It doesn't quite come up.
I'll write a Wikipedia thing.
Wikipedia,
I should do that and see what that stirs up. No doubt there'll be some stir. I've never written anything for Wikipedia before, but that's probably something on my bucket list.
Yeah.
Egoic is as good a place as any to start. So thanks, Darren.
That's right. I've just given you a mission.
It's given me something else, a distraction, no doubt. Other things that I'm quite unquote supposed to be doing at the moment to further my business. Maybe that would. No, you don't really get to claim credit on a Wikipedia article, do you? So it wouldn't really move my business forward. But anyway, it's about being the light, right? So from my point of view, thriving in business is about really being passionate in your own version of yourself and then allowing yourself to attract business to you rather than trying to manipulate yourself to fit into what your idea of business should look like. Because I've tried it. It didn't work. I've jumped through those hoops.
No, it's very true. I mean, I hear people all the time talking about how they're working with people they really hate.
Yeah.
And I've been there myself, right? I've had these people, I just go, oh my God, like, why am I here?
Yeah.
And it's, to me, talking more about what you're suggesting there is, it's about not understanding who they are. And they don't say, this is what I stand for. This is what I, have to offer.
Mm-hmm.
I want to find people who align with that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I believe that's what you're saying. Make sure you understand who you are first. Yeah.
That's right. And for me, rather than trying to work out which clients I should serve and then mold myself into serving them, I work out what I want to really do in the world and then attract clients who like that. And so,
Yeah.
so then the question of, and I know we've talked a lot before about languaging and how you put your craft, your message to put out there to the world, it becomes really easy because I basically talk naturally from my own knowing, and I don't have to think too much at all about whether this is what my clients want to hear, because I trust my clients really want to hear what I have to share. And because I trust that and keep just putting out what I want to share, of course, the clients that I have want that, right? Because that's what attracted them in the first place. So I don't need to keep any pretenses up to please my clients, because I pleased them right from the get-go, or attracted them right from the get-go based on my natural expressions of myself.
That is so good, right? Like, so, if people have got service-based business, even in a way product-based businesses, but any business at all, if you're true to what you believe in and you say, I'm going to provide this service and this is what I believe that service should be, people who align with that will want that.
That's right.
And therefore it moves away from price. It moves away from all these, I think everyone always has a price point somewhere in their head, like in their,
of course.
But you move away from that. That's not the discussion you're having first. The discussion you're having is all about, do you align?
Exactly. And if you're really confident in that, it's just a matter of putting your message out further and further to attract enough people who want that. Because there will be enough, even if it's only a very small percentage. Even if it's only a very small percentage of the population, it just becomes a numbers game as to how you attract those numbers. Of course, if you're a bricks and mortar business and you're in the wrong place, then you're in trouble. If you're not really, if you've got a service that doesn't align with the people in your area. But many of us now are moving away from bricks and mortar, and we've got 7 billion people, or however many are on the internet, I don't know, to call on. It's just a matter of working out how to do it effectively.
That's so true.
Because as soon as you start trying to manipulate yourself to appease what you perceive, and it's only your perception of what the market wants, you're lost in today's, because there's too many people already doing that, and the audience sees through it pretty quick.
It's I think people could really learn a lot from that. So many people I come across, I'm in quite a few groups, and always sort of listening to what people have to say, and everyone sells widgets. And what you're suggesting is we should sell our beliefs and what we align to.
Not sell yourself,
ourselves,
not
what
sell
we
your
stand
soul, but your principles, right, and your beliefs and your energy. Really, it's your essence, it's your light. That's why I use the term light, because basically I sell my light. I not sell it so much, but I publicize it. I let other people see it, and a lot of people are scared to do that because they want to keep themselves hidden, because they're scared of being judged and they're scared of being persecuted and all the rest of it. But
that's a big thing about the world that we've created, isn't it? It's you fit into this box. I talked about that in the corporate world. I never fitted into that corporate box. Right? I was always very good at what I did and always made some good results. But they wanted me to wear a suit. They wanted me to wear a tie. They wanted me to
I was the same in the film industry. I didn't fit in. I didn't do nearly enough coke. I didn't go out with the directors I didn't kiss ass, and that's expected in the film industry. And if you don't do that, no matter how good you are, there's only so high you're going to get. And so that was really frustrating for me, because I ended up finding myself working under guys and basically covering their ass the whole time, helping them sort out their problems, making them look good while they stood around with the director doing coke, right? Because it wasn't my thing. But it's annoying when you're on a different pay scale to them. And you're basically running the show behind them.
Hey, Darren Walsh here. I hope you're enjoying the journey. Sorry to interrupt you. I know it's probably more interested in listening to the journey. I just wanted to make sure you're aware that we've got a free group, Facebook group. Jump in, have a look at the group. It's for people seeking business autonomy, find their tribe, grow their business, get your message out there, and do things with with less of you. So if that's something that interests you, there's a link below this video. Jump into the group, find on Facebook, answer the questions, and I'll see you on the inside. Cheers.
Yeah, it's. I've always used the term, I don't suffer fools easily. So, you know, when you find yourself in those positions, it's time to realise that that's not helping you, is it?
No.
Yeah, you've got to change.
It helps you to a point. It helps you to a point because you get frustrated enough to make a choice.
Yeah. And we've sort of digressed there a little bit, but one of the things you were talking about before is your language, and that's one of the things I've really enjoyed about seeing you interact with your tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it aligns really with what you were saying, because you use a particular language that suits you, suits who you want to attract.
Exactly.
And how do you come by that language? Like, how do you sort of script your copy and your messages to your people? You know, how does that come?
Yeah, well, for me, it's kind of natural. You know, I work as a channel, so I allow, you know, just as I was talking right at the start of the call about how, you know, Clint channels Jimmy through and gets out of his body. Well, I don't get out of my body. I'm what they call a conscious channel, so I'm still here, but I allow myself to talk without thinking. And I do the same when I write. I try not to think too much about our writing. I come up with an idea and then I allow myself to express it. Of course, it needs a bit of editing and you need to shift it around a bit.
Yeah.
But for me, it's quite natural. And because I've been doing it for long enough and doing it with enough authentic confidence, right? And authentic confidence doesn't mean that I know that it's going to go down well. It's just that I know that no matter how it goes down, I'm going to be okay, right? So I just keep putting content out there that can be quite controversial and can upset a few people and all of the rest of it. But through that, I've always known that it's going to keep just bringing people who do like me to me, and then I'll be able to make them offers, right?
I'd like to talk a bit about that, actually, you know, upsetting people, which is I think necessary for most people to be successful, right?
Yep.
But what you just said there before is you know, you allow yourself to express yourself, and you know, you're talking that in the context of your copy, because you do a lot of writing to, you know, messaging and stuff like that. But people listening, they might not write as much copy or stuff. But when I go to write my copy, when I go to write my messages or do my, you know, videos and things, it's always finding I can only do it at certain times. You know, I just can't sit down and go,
no,
you know, this is what I'm doing now, and you know, I'm going to write this message or this piece of copy. And I always feel that sort of is that a similar thing where you just don't have that mindset at that time to get that right.
The inspiration's not flowing, right? The energy's not flowing. You're not probably aligned with the message that you really want to put out there energetically, so it doesn't come.
So really, one of the things that people talk to me about a lot is, well, I need to organise my time, disorganised, and, you know, don't get things done. And I often feel that they're caught up with sticking to some sort of routine.
Yeah.
It doesn't match what they do, right? Like, doesn't match who they are. And, you know, it's an interesting explanation. You said that because I think that really flows through, doesn't it? You know, that you've got to listen to yourself, haven't you, of what's important right now. And that language will come.
Yeah. Exactly. And, you know, for me, it's about setting the intention that I really want to touch someone.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm writing with the intent that I'm really going to share truth that's going to serve people, help people, benefit people, without trying to manipulate the thinking around how am I going to get them to buy my shit, right? Because it doesn't come into it. The offer's there at the bottom, but the content is me sharing myself. And exactly what you said, it's, you know, we all look for a level of structure in our lives to help us feel confident and safe and know what's going to happen next. We love that predictability. And people quite often do pick up and think, well, I don't have enough of that because I'm not feeling secure in the world and my time's a bit chaotic. But, regimenting yourself too much also just sucks the life out of it. And we can't just sit down and do things at certain times. Our society's trained us to all eat at the, same times and do all, and it's crazy. I've cut out of that recently. I don't find myself eating now till after lunchtime, till after like what we call lunchtime, right?
Yeah.
We call it lunchtime even. But I don't eat in the mornings anymore. And I always used to. I was trained to. My mum always said breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And it is. But now breakfast happens at 12:30.
Yeah.
Not at 7:30.
Well, it's a great point. I mean, my son hates eating breakfast, right?
Yeah.
I'm always into it
about
having breakfast. You got to have breakfast,
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, who decided breakfast was 6 a.m?
Yeah, and who decided that it's so important and it's supposed to be cereal and it's supposed to be this or that, right? It's people trying to sell us shit. They've implanted us with the belief that, if you leave the day without having a bowl of Wheaties before, then it's not going to be a successful day. That's great if you're in the in the job of selling Wheaties. But is it really the truth? Because I've found that my body thrives now not having breakfast. And I see, I've lightened up on my kids a lot, and because I was the same, right? No, you're not going to school without anything in your stomach. And it's like, Dad, I don't feel like eating. It's like, oh, it makes me feel sick when I eat. And I go, oh, rubbish. It's not rubbish. They intuitively know. And kids today, I don't think are nearly as easily indoctrinated as we were. I think it's just an evolutionary thing of our societies that the kids are becoming more and more independent in their own right, which of course, creates a lot of parenting headaches for us because the old techniques don't work. But I can't remember what we were talking about before we went there. Structuring time. We do need, it's important that we do have a level of discipline that we get things done, but we have to be flexible enough to get them done when it best serves us to do them. And that is an evolution and it's dynamic, and you don't really settle into a formula that lasts for any length of time. I think a lot of people have got this idea that they're going to get all their shit together and then it's always going to be together. And in my opinion, it's not like that. I've had my shit together for moments and it never lasts, right? You just evolve and you've got to rearrange things. That's the beauty of life. We never get to that point where there's no completion on this thing.
No. And trying to always stick to a rigid regime can be very detrimental to what you're doing and achieving and hold you back, I mean, really, if we just got 2 or 3 things done that are important in the day, it's a good day.
And that does require some discipline again, because if you're totally unstructured, then you'll allow yourself to faff around following distractions, which is not good either. So it's a matter of, as you said, knowing what the 2 or 3 things are that are important for you to get done, and then making sure, or at least putting your best effort into getting them done at the times that feel most appropriate. Absolutely.
So look, we've been talking quite a lot of different topics there and issues and stuff. It's been a great exploration. We're sort of coming up to the hour mark, so I don't want to hold you too much. But I do have one more question for you. So what if you could go back in time and talk to a younger version of yourself, how old would you be, and what would you say?
I'd probably be 4 or 5 years old, and I'd probably be just telling myself that I am good enough and not to freak out, and to understand that what I'm feeling is not the truth. Just feeling that you're not good enough, that you don't fit in. They're shadows of energy that you've carrying from different reasons, and it's not the truth.
So that's quite young. So 4 or 5. So do you feel that we carry that sort of feeling from that age?
I did.
Yeah.
I remember preschool not fitting in, so I was even younger. Going to school, it only intensified. I had friends, and I tried my best to fit in with them. But I never really felt that I cracked it. You know, I never really felt settled in it. So it was an ongoing stress in my life, really, to try and make myself appreciated or acceptable. Even though people were accepting me and they were appreciating me, I didn't feel it. So it wasn't anything to do with the external world. It was an internal feeling that wasn't the truth.
Yeah. And we carry so many of those, don't we?
Yeah. Different flavors of the same sort of thing. Yeah.
So it's a very good message, and maybe I better go tell my boys that they're good enough this afternoon when I see them.
Yeah. No, and it's hard to do because we want the best for them, and we it's very easy to judge what's going on for them. You know, my boys are now 16 and a half and 18 and getting up to all sorts of mischief. We've had 3 car crashes in the last month.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah.
There's parenting work.
And police in the house and the whole thing. So, you know, I'm supposed to be a spiritual teacher.
Well, they're finding their spirit.
They're finding their spirit. They are. So yeah, it is an important message to share with our kids, and just to remind them that, hey, I don't, you know, I'd like to lift you up and help you make some better choices, but I also do recognize that, you know, you are loved and you are, you know, exactly as you are. So
yeah, and look, it is okay for people to make mistakes, isn't it? You know,
it's imperative.
We're going to make mistakes.
You can't, you know, fail fast and fail forward. If you're not willing to make mistakes, you aren't going to get anywhere in this world. Right?
Yeah,
you just want to play it safe and get everything right. Then you're be a write off. You know, it's pointless being here. So
no, that's some great advice and some great insights for everyone listening, I think. And Matt, you know, again, it's just amazing to see how you connect with your tribe, and I think everyone can learn a lot from that. And so tell us a little bit about yourself. People are interested in what you have to say and want to really connect with you a little bit further. How can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, probably the easiest way is just to hook onto Facebook and look up the Bright. There's no the. It's just Bright Light Facilitators. And if you're really interested in what I do, there's a free gift on the top of that page, which is, you know, a light language experience. Value, no, freak. I don't know what you're worth and value yourself appropriately, or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's
I've done so many of those things. I can't even remember what the title is, but it's basically all around, you know, owning your own self-worth and valuing yourself appropriately. Because a lot of us in business are hung up on really charging what's appropriate and really knowing that we are good enough as we are, and we do have a lot to offer, and that people are willing to pay an appropriate level for our services. So
that's in a Facebook group, yeah?
Yeah.
And they have to answer some questions to join and stuff like that?
No, I'm pretty easy. I have to approve them, but just jump on in.
Just jump on in. So Bright Light Facilitators Facebook group, look it up.
Yep.
Make a connection with Matt, say hello, and
you'll get a dose of my inspiration pretty much daily, whether it's a live stream or some written content or something. And there's always some gifts and stuff going on.
Excellent. All right. Well, Matt, thank you very much, and it's been some literally enlightening discussions there, and I've really enjoyed it. And I think there's something for everyone in our discussion, no matter what their calling is.
Yeah.
And let's hope everyone can get closer to their calling from just listening to this to this journey and of yours and the trials and tribulations you went through, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing.
My pleasure. Thanks, Daz. Awesome that you're doing these. I love this format, and I think you're providing your tribe with a lot of value by being willing to reach out and bring people on, and you know, you've done an excellent job at leading an interview, which is, you know, not
thank you very
easy.
Thank you very much. I'm trying to get better at, but I'm all I'm interested in is people sharing their journey and people learning something from someone else's journey, which we can all do.
Yeah.
And experts like yourself in your field, it's just such a pleasure to listen how you've gone through and found your place, and we had Richard the other day, who's just an amazing video guy, and Glenn Edley, the email guy. So we're moving along, and just it's amazing that the level of expertise that we've got amongst us.
Yeah, and I think your tribe's going to learn a lot from you going through this process and watching you interview people.
I'm growing myself. I'm learning so much about
and that's it.
Myself, my people, and how we all can benefit.
And the process of actually having to step forward and do it, right?
Yes, that's
because
right.
It doesn't happen. It's not you didn't just magically become good at interviewing people. You had to choose to take the risk to start this. You had a dream that you wanted to share people's journeys, and then you've taken action, and now you're following through with it, and you're learning and you're growing. And the big outcome is not necessarily in the external outcome, but it's in your growth and in people's growth in watching you grow. The intangibles is really where it's at for me. And so I love watching my clients do exactly this. And I know my clients get a lot out of watching me step forward into doing new things, because that's where it's at. That's where the human spirit's at. And if, that's why I say to a lot of people, the day of the guru's dead. People don't want people who've just got all their shit together today and it's all just easy and seamless. They want to see mistakes. They want to see realness. They want to see the struggle, because that's what's inspiring.
Yeah, you're right. People want to know that they align with, the journey you've had.
Yeah, and they want to feel that it's okay for it not to be easy.
That's right.
And it's not perfect, and it's not supposed to be perfect.
Yeah,
because a lot of people are sitting on their hands, waiting till they feel ready to start, waiting till they think they've got all their ducks in a line before they're willing to risk stepping forward and doing anything, whether it's part of their business expansion or whether it's personal level growth for them. But if you're not willing to just get out and give it a go and make some mistakes and have it be a bit messy, then we're not on this planet very long.
That's right. It's so true, isn't it? People are always waiting for the right time, not quite ready.
Not quite ready. Just once I'll feel more confident when I'll have more time when the kids are going to school, when the kids have left school, and the kids have got their own.
And it never happens, does it? There's always something once you open that world of not quite ready. It's just a slippery slide.
There's always an excuse.
Yeah.
Awesome, Darren. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. And I've really enjoyed it. And thank you very much for your time. And
my pleasure.
Good luck with the journey ahead.
Yeah.
Hey,
awesome.
Darren Walsh here.
Thanks, mate.
What an amazing journey Matt Andrews has, and it's been a pleasure to bring you his journey, so you can learn from it and find your place. There were some great discussions there, and I certainly got a lot out of it. I know one thing I want to do now is go talk to my kids and tell them I love them and it's okay to be who you are. So I got a little bit emotional through it, but I hope you got a lot out of it, and just hearing his journey, his transformation in his life, and how he did. It doesn't matter what you're doing; it's relevant to all of us. So I hope you enjoyed it. And look, if you're interested in learning more, jump into our group. It's called Seeking Autonomy, Seeking Business Autonomy in Facebook. Jump in there, and there's plenty of free stuff. And if you're interested in what Matt does, jump into his Bright Light Facilitators. He's got a group as well in Facebook. Jump in there and have a look, and there's plenty of stuff that he gives away to people because he wants people like you with him. All right, thank you very much. And next week on the journey, we are going to be talking to Mark Hemsley. He is a guru in Google. So he started writing Google ads and, growing businesses with Google, like when the internet first started off, and Google wasn't really there. So it's an interesting journey. He actually runs multi-million-dollar business from halfway across the world. So it's going to be a very interesting thing. I mean, I'm very excited to listen to what he has to say. So next week, Mark Hemsley, and that is the episode of The Journey. Thank you very much. Cheers.